So if we're all set, we can call to order what feels like the February meeting of the BSD, but is actually the May 1st meeting of the Bennington School District Board of Directors. Before we begin with our posted agenda, at last month's meeting under policies, we had discussed, we had a discussion about the immunization policy. And as part of that discussion, Jackie Kelly was authorized to draft a letter. And in the course of that conversation, we said we would follow up with that at this meeting. That did not make it on the agenda. So I would like a motion, please. It was discussed at last meeting. It was in the posted minutes that we would be discussing it. It just didn't make it on the agenda. So if I could please have a motion to add a policy discussion to the agenda to discuss that. So Jackie Prue first, Meredith second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of amending the agenda as described, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. So we will make that agenda item 4. We'll get right into that after the consent agenda. So the first item of business is public comments. Any members of the public like to make a statement? I guess that's you, Beck. Do you have any statements to make? Okay. Very good. So passing on. We have the second agenda item is executive session. So pursuant to Vermont statutes annotated section 313A1E, we would like to meet to discuss, quote, pending or probable civil litigation or prosecution to which the public body is or may be a party. 1 VSA subsection 313A1F to discuss confidential attorney-client communications for the purposes of providing professional legal services to the body. And 1 VSA section 313A3 to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer, provided that the public body shall make a final decision in an open meeting and explain the reason for that opinion. So could I please have a motion to move into executive session for those reasons? Thank you, Jack Kelly. Thank you, Meredith. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving into executive session, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And we are in executive session. Thank you. So could I please have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Jack Kelly. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Meredith. Any discussion about coming out of executive session? Hearing none, all those in favor of coming out of executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are out of executive session. Agenda item 3, the consent agenda, which was enclosed. It includes the minutes from our last meeting, a resignation letter from Nancy Haynes, as well as field trips. There was one field trip posted on the consent agenda, but there are actually 3 that are happening. There's the Monument Elementary field trip to Nature's Classroom. There is the Molly Stark trip to Nature's Classroom, and then there is another school. Thank you, Molly.
Fort Tyke
Yep.
on the road.
So, is there any discussion about what is included in the consent agenda, Jody?
Yes, I had a field trip question that was submitted by a family, and so I just wondered when you would like me to ask that question regarding Nature's Classroom.
Sure.
I can wait until after the approval or during discussion.
No, let's do it now.
Okay, just a question about Nature's Classroom, and I'm not sure if principals will be able to answer that because Edie is not here, and it's in regards to Bennington Elementary, and if the school not attending Nature's Classroom was just a choice they made to pursue something else, or if a funding issue, or the parent that I spoke to was just, it took her by surprise that they were not attending, and so she wanted to know.
So this is a Bennell issue?
Yeah.
Bennell parent, yeah. It took her by surprise, and she said we would have fundraised, and I said I could just ask questions. So I wasn't sure if maybe you knew, or maybe he's not here to
I think
ask.
maybe how we'll handle that is if.
Well, it's a complaint, it should come.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. So, well, is it a complaint to the superintendent, or is it
was a question.
Correspondence to the board? Which one
Okay.
is it?
I don't know.
So I'm willing to consider that as correspondence to the board. I don't know that it's a complaint; it's a question. So
It was a question.
if you can please have that person direct an email to me with the question, we can sort it out that way.
I will do that. Thank
Yeah.
you, Chris.
Thank you. Any other discussion about what is on the consent agenda?
I'd just like to ask, I didn't realize there was 2 places for Nature's Classroom.
There's actually multiple
No, it's-
places. yeah.
It's all over there. Yeah, but that's the same place on,
Oh, it's the same place.
YMCA is in Silver Bay.
yeah.
It's the same place.
Same place.
Okay.
They're going the same week together.
But they have places all from Maine, Cape Cod, New York. Yeah.
So let me ask this question. If children from Bennell wanted to go, could they go?
I would say probably not at this point, because you go as an organized group with your teachers, your chaperones. I mean, it is possible to go without, that you buy their chaperones, but that's even more
Even more.
expensive. Yeah.
And I believe that the other two schools have fundraised for their children to go. All the parents have been fundraising for their
For the whole year.
children to go for the whole year.
And we also kick in money.
So I don't know what the
Yeah,
other
but
question is,
you
like,
have-
what was the participation rate from this school last year? How many students went? Oh, last year, did they? and
Last
what-
year, I
don't believe
No,
No,
the first
Benno
year,
went last year.
the first year it was,
Yeah.
33.
Yeah.
And Molly was, 18 last year, and they're 46 this year, or 40-something this year.
And I know Monument is all, right, they're all in. And I
Yeah.
think they're, what, 18 or 19 in that class, probably?
No, we only have 13 attending.
13. Okay.
So I guess what I'm,
sorry, Molly or
Monument.
Oh, yeah, only
so I guess what I'm thinking, or, I hate to have a school left out because, there was a miscommunication. If there's money left over in our budget this year, could that money be spent in that?
It's actually booked the year before.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh,
I'm sure
Yes.
there's no slots.
There's no-
I'd be surprised if there were slots are
oh,
available.
okay.
So this is how I think we should handle this. If I guess the recommendation could go out to anyone who's hearing this from the Ben L parent-teacher group, any member or any parents, if they want to bring an idea to Edie as to far as how a field trip that would be a good idea, I think that person should feel at liberty to do that. And in terms of the specific question about why is Ben L not going this year, Jody will ask the person to send an email to me, and we'll follow it. We'll follow that policy.
And just as a quick public announcement regarding Nature's Classroom and wanting to participate, Donna knows that she received an email from me at 5 o'clock this morning with a letter that's going to home today with fourth grade classroom kids, so that I'm ready to start the first day of school in the fall. This isn't something that we can do in May because it has to be booked in advance, and the fundraising is huge.
Thank you.
It's a pain in the neck, so to do it now would probably be very, very difficult, but schools should know if they want in, they really need to start it as soon as
It takes a
possible.
commitment from the school.
Benno
Yeah.
didn't go last year. They
Yes,
went
they
the
did.
first year.
They went last year, I was there.
How many?
I
Well,
think
the
they were
first
in
year
the
that-
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first year there was 33.
Yeah,
I
they had a higher participation in Ben L last year than Molly did.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on the
This was
consent
the
agenda?
last year Jim was.
So hearing none, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as posted and as discussed, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Jackie Prue. We'll say a second from Meredith. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, and the consent agenda passes. I will just say, good luck to Nancy Haynes, and I hope whatever's on the horizon next, you're happy with, and it goes well for you. So thank you for your service here at Ben L. Next up, we have the amended agenda item for policies. So Jackie Kelly, I will kick it right to you, and why don't you lead this part of the conversation, please?
Right, so, I guess some people have to share their copy. So what I did is I wrote a letter, and I'd like the letter to go to various legislators. We met with the legislators on Monday, and they suggested that this letter be sent to the governor, lieutenant governor, all of our representatives and senators for Bennington County, and then to the House Committee on Health, the Senate Committee on Health and Welfare, and the House Committee on Education. To hit all the bases, I guess, get them all at once. I know it's late in the term, and maybe nothing would happen this year, but sometimes over the summer, things are discussed, and I'm also addressing it to the Speaker of the House. So, the letter reads like this. The United States measles outbreak has hit at its highest level in 25 years. Quarantines are now in place in parts of New York State and California, and the number of people affected by this disease continues to propagate due to the fear of vaccines. Some U.S. communities now have low vaccine rates because of bad information spread through social media, especially now the discredited notion that measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, MMR, is linked to autism. Measles was eliminated in the United States in 2000 by childhood vaccinations. However, recent travelers from other countries continue to bring measles to the United States and infect unvaccinated populations. As of April 19th, 626 cases have been confirmed in 22 states. The number now is like over 700. In light of recent outbreaks of measles in the surrounding states, the Bennington School Board requests that the current school vaccination legislation be changed. Presently, Vermont statutes allow 2 exemptions for noncompliance with measles vaccinations, one for medical reasons and one for religious reasons. And I've cited both of the legislative acts. 2 years ago, Vermont state statutes also included philosophical reasons. In a memorandum to the Vermont superintendents and principals from Mark Levine, a doctor, Commissioner, Department of Health, Rebecca Holcomb, Secretary, Agency of Education, on June 6, 2017, compliance with Vermont's immunization laws and regulations, school districts were notified that the philosophical reasons were dropped from the list of exemptions. In order to ensure that all students can receive a free public education in a safe environment, our schools employ nurses on a full-time and part-time basis, segregate students who have food allergies, and contact parents when students become sick at school. We cannot protect students who are medically unable to be vaccinated from students whose parents refuse to vaccinate their children for other reasons. We ask the legislature to consider the impact of vaccinations prior to school admittance under the current statute, to exclude the exemption referred to as religious reason, and shorten the exemption for provisional admittance time from 6 months to before school attendance.
So, any thoughts on
I
that?
noticed a couple little errors there, but I can fix those.
Okay. Any discussion on the content of this?
No.
So Jackie, I think it's great. Thank you for taking the time to put that together.
Do you want me to give it to you and you can send it out? I'll send you a copy and you can sign your name?
Sure. I guess I'll leave that to the will of the board here, folks. There could be one of 2 motions made: either to empower me as the board chair to send this letter, or to empower Jackie Kelly as a member of this board and the author of the letter to send it out under her name. I'm fine with either. So whatever motion someone would like to make.
I think you should both sign it, because you're the author.
We'll both sign it.
All right. So could I please have a motion then to empower Jackie Kelly and Chris Murphy to sign this letter and send it to the list of recipients that Jackie had mentioned at the beginning?
So moved.
Thank you, Merity, and we'll call that Jackie Prue second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of...
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Somebody needs to proofread it for me.
Yep, so we will do that. So some minor cosmetic changes will be made, but no changes will be made to the content of it. A few commas here, a few here and there. But I don't think I took a vote, did I? All those in favor of empowering us to send this letter, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good, then it passes. Thank you again, Jackie. Moving on to our next agenda item is a finance report. So the treasurer's report has been posted. Any questions on the treasurer's report? So any comments or concerns? Hearing none, we'll move on to committees. First, a report from the SVSU committee. So I would turn that to Dan or to Chad.
I wasn't there.
I'm going to let Jody do
Okay,
this.
fantastic.
She was the
Jody, the
alternate.
floor is yours.
Okay, so Dan and I attended the SVSU meeting on April 24th and heard a presentation from the Public Information Coordinator, Derek Carson, about Derek's role in the SU. And we wanted to pass along that schools should be contacting Derek when they have exciting things happening, so Derek can stop in and write and photograph those events and share them out. We also, at the SU meeting, Superintendent Culkeen asked us to take action on the future makeup of the SU in regards to seats, and we did so. We also left committees as is, given that there's a short duration left for the SU, a few months left. And we also heard from the SU chair about the positive evaluation of our superintendent.
What was the makeup, what was the action that was decided?
So the action would, and Jim, correct me on this if I have the numbers wrong, but I wrote down that we would have 3 seats for Arlington, 1 for Sandgate, 2 for MAU.
Currently.
Correct, currently. And we wanted to rescind and go back to
Go back to the default
The
law that would
default.
give any operating school district 3 seats.
What about SBU, ESD?
They would get 3.
They would get 3, because they're going to get 3 anyway, because they're an operating school district.
But starting July, they get 1, 2, until the legislature changes it.
Who? The new union district?
Yeah.
No, they'll get 3 automatically. Yeah. I can talk about this now. I was going to address it in my report, but, because I did send a letter backing the action that the board, we asked what Jody's talking about, we asked the board to take a vote so that I could draft a letter and send it to the Agency of Education so that we could be on the May board agenda for the Vermont State Board, asking them to rescind their vote of February 2013, which gave everyone in our SU 2 seats and 1 alternate, because that was the solution to lack of quorums at many meetings. So, like I said, that letter went out to get on the agenda. And so the law states we don't need to take any action for anybody else. We have to get them rescinded so Mount Anthony can go back to 3. Because the law states any operating school district gets 3 seats, any non-operating gets 1. So the new Southwest Vermont Union School District will automatically get 3 seats on the board.
Good.
Sandgate gets 1, Arlington automatically gets 3 when they come on, North Bennington gets 1. And if the state, in my conversation, I had a phone call after our meeting with Secretary Dan French and Donna Russo Savage from the Agency of Education and the Agency of Education's council, and they were in agreement with this. They seem to think that this will happen.
Who has to rescind the vote?
The state board, because they're the one that can grant a waiver, so they granted a waiver back in February of 2013.
Gotcha.
Away from
So
what
it
the
wasn't done
statute said.
within our board, it
No.
was done at the state level?
At the state board, at our
Okay, so it has
request.
to be undone at the state level?
Undone at the state level, and it'll go to 3, and that'll result in an SU board of 11, which is what we currently have.
I think that's a great solution.
Yeah.
Anything else from the SVSU, Jody?
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Oh,
they're planning on moving their office.
Talking about it.
Um,
Can you believe
We
that?
discussed it here at this meeting.
yeah, I know, I work on that street. I was just wondering, where are you guys gonna all park all those cars?
that's what I was wondering too.
And-
Quite a bit of space
The
in that
town
parking
tells
lot.
us that there's a lot of parking there.
There is.
Yeah, but when I drive by, it's mostly full during the day.
They can
I
park
walk
at
by
Beach
there.
Street, we'll run a shuttle bus for the same price as they're renting right now.
I'm
Would you
just
agree?
wondering, yeah, for the same price they're renting, they're not paying hardly anything.
Where are they moving to?
210 South Street.
Oh, yeah,
Downtown.
the old
That's the
CB
proposal.
Sport Building.
I walk by there every day,
Yes.
twice a day, and it's never full.
Yeah.
I
It's
live up-
never full,
I live up
but
the
it's
street.
mostly
Yep.
full.
Okay, thanks.
They'll be fine.
Across from town hall.
Yes, brick. Big corner.
So Jackie Puri, we'll kick it to you for an update from the negotiations committee,
Well,
please.
we haven't had a meeting. I think we're gonna have a meeting.
Tomorrow night,
Tomorrow night.
What time?
5 o'clock. CAC, yeah, it was warned.
I didn't see anything, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going to double check that because I just heard from the ESP staff that they weren't aware either. But they were.
I
we
know I
scheduled
got
that
something from Nick, and he asked me
Right.
which dates would work, and I said, yeah,
So,
but I don't
so then my
remember ever
office
getting
did,
anything back.
the posting went out. I do have a copy. I don't want to.
It's all right.
So we did post at 5 o'clock CDC tomorrow.
So if we're not gonna have it, he'll email us tomorrow morning or something?
We should have it, since the teachers have settled, I'm encouraged that we will have a potentially have a settlement. I don't want to predict what's going to happen, but we had held the date for a mediator, but we have set aside the mediator because we've settled the teacher. We hope that we can come to a conclusion tomorrow
Anyways,
night.
I'll be at the meeting at
Yep.
5 if you're having it.
Thank you.
People are there too.
So Jackie Prue, we're also going to keep it with you for our next agenda item, which is a fund balance discussion. You had asked that it be put on the agenda, so we'll ask you to introduce the idea, and then we'll turn to Director Gordon for her input on this as well.
Okay, every year we have quite a substantial fund balance. And it's my understanding from talking to different board members in different districts that they're in a hurry to get rid of it, so it doesn't go to the new district, because all monies that we have left over automatically goes into the new district, except for what we have in our building fund. So if we, it's my idea that if we have extra funds, that we use it on what we need. You know, get things that we need in our buildings or upgrades that we need to be done. You know, finish the job we started here with the windows. Jackie would like to see new music equipment, because the equipment is in horrible shape in most of the buildings. I don't know what else the principals might need in their buildings, but I think we should have a discussion.
Okay.
I have no idea what the anticipated fund balance will be, and I have no way of figuring it out.
We could establish a wish list and prioritize.
But I know that the money has to be encumbered by June 30th, or,
So July 1 is when the
Yeah.
new merged board comes online.
And we did have a discussion with our attorney for caution on this about spending, and he seems supportive around the idea of any projects, like a continuation of project, like, say, the windows for this building, but purchasing things that were not planned as part of the budget, we should steer away from. But something that may be a capital improvement to the building, but like loading up on supplies, no. Because fund balance really is supposed to roll over to reduce taxes in the
yeah, I
following
understand,
year.
yeah, I understand that, but, we usually have a substantial fund balance.
Yeah.
We have in the last few years.
So I'd like to invite Director Gordon to the microphone to maybe speak to this. If you have anything to add, please.
No, pretty much what Jim said. Yeah, just at the advice of council, not to start anything that was unplanned, but the continuation, and that's what we're planning on doing with the windows anyway. The other thing is we're kind of in a time crunch right now, too, so we really wouldn't have time to do anything bigger anyway, because if it was a capital improvement, we would likely need plans, would have to go out to bid. You know, so anything over that threshold requires public bid, which takes time, and time really isn't on our side right now. With the added caveat that we are trying to shut down our system now because we have to roll everything to our new finance system, which we're still trying to build. So lots
And
Uh-huh.
going on.
to be clear what the other districts are doing, like Shasbury is spending money, but
Yeah.
it's a continuation of a project, a ventilation project that they're in phase 3 of. And Woodford is looking at a paving project, though it's going to be doubtful whether they have enough of a fund balance to do everything they want to do. That the original plans were done a few years ago, and they had an engineer look at it to upgrade. And Pownell is looking at rehabilitation of a tennis court that was on a long-term plan. So it's those type of projects that our attorney advises us is allowable, and so we asked him specifically about the windows in this building, because we know that was a priority to continue and finish off a project that, at that time, we didn't have the funds to do.
And we have to use it on a tangible item, like a capital improvement. We can't put it toward the trauma-informed classrooms. We can't put it toward equipment, anticipated equipment.
No, because
for-
you got, it has to be encumbered and, the money held and spent for something that's going to happen in this fiscal year, really.
So,
It should be.
my question is,
So you
are we
can't-
doing all the windows now?
Is it already scheduled?
No, it's not, that's,
We're getting some pricing on the next couple of sections. projections?
We're getting a price on 20. We still would have about, well, on the main building, I want to say 27, 28 more on the main building than the lower level here.
So how much does it cost to do 20 windows?
Don't know, I haven't got the price yet. And it should have been today, but I didn't get it today.
We were expecting around 50.
Jerry, do you know of any other capital improvements that you anticipate in the other buildings that we could use it for?
Well, I mean, we always have.
Right, there's-
Windows, doors in other buildings too, from what they,
What do you think is available? I know it's a moving target, Cap. We're still spending money, and we are encumbering money so that we know what balances are, but it's
It's
only
like several $100,000.
right.
So we could,
Question.
okay, I just want to finish this last thought. We could do this building.
Yes.
Yep.
Would
That's
it
what we should
be
do.
smart to have, because time is of the essence, and if it has to be a capital improvement, that's kind of your wheelhouse, to have you come up with things that you may potentially need in all of the different buildings, and then Renee can come up with a figure of what our fund balance looks like?
But does it have to be a
Does it have to be?
planned capital? Like, I think, from what Jim is saying, I think it has to be something that was already planned and already in
That you
the
had
works.
discussed previously.
Well, we had discussed efficiency improvements for years.
So Jody, why don't you ask your question, please?
Yes or no question. Can these funds, because this is something already planned, but can the funds be used for kinder camp busing
I don't believe so.
this summer?
No, because it's next.
It's for next
Yeah.
Next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Right, because it would be happening in
Yeah.
July or August. Okay. Okay, so it couldn't be used for classroom supplies, even though the orders would go in before,
The auditors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
right? Even, okay.
Yeah, and that's also not in the spirit of the merger. Like,
Right.
what we're asking everyone to do is to come at this with the understanding that these are all our kids. And even though we've been divided by town lines before, now those lines are even more blurry, because
Right.
we're all one district. We're one district with many buildings over many towns.
But a capital improvement to the building is a benefit to everyone
Sure.
going forward, so that's a good investment.
Yes.
Right.
And I think since we
trying to
already
figure out.
started this,
Oh, clearly, that would not be challenged or questioned if you wanted to continue with the windows, and we would support that project once we get a price.
So,
yeah, I mean,
are there any barriers then to us being able to finish that project for encumbering the money that we need to by July 30th? Mr. Prue in the rear.
Money's no object, the only thing is time.
Okay.
I mean,
It doesn't have to be installed by July 31st.
No.
Just encumbered.
Yeah.
We need to know a price, we got to award a bid, sign it, and then you can encumber that money.
Okay.
So I should know by the end of this week, but yeah, if Windows is the thing, yeah, and as the superintendent has mentioned, that's something that our joint district will get a benefit out of because of the savings that
It's the
you
last
So does that require action from this board to empower that to happen? Or can you just do it?
You want to give us authority?
Authority.
So can I please have a motion to empower?
We should.
Yes.
So moved.
Yes, thank you. So, Jack, I'll give Jack the floor.
Who are we empowering,
write it
first of
down.
all?
Authorizing the Director of Facilities and Finance and Facilities to seek quotes and award to a vendor the project to replace, how many windows we doing?
I don't know.
As many as
Yeah.
possible.
The
However
number of
far the
necessary.
Do we have a dollar figure you want to allow to spend to?
Not to exceed the estimated fund balance.
For windows at
This building.
Yes.
Bennington Elementary, okay.
because that's the only one that's
This is
been,
on the ongoing project.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank
Right.
you.
we were just
I
going to put in
wasn't sure
so
what
much
we
money
were
every
signing
year.
off on. Okay.
Okay. That's important, thank you.
Because we asked specifically, like, well, could we replace some carpet and, in rooms, and he said, were you slated to replace them? And,
Often,
yeah.
The windows is.
So Richard, could you
That's been
please
contemplated.
read that motion back?
I'll try.
Thank you.
To empower the Director of Finance and Facilities to seek quotes and award a contract to a vendor to complete window retrofit at Ben L. and not to exceed the funds balance.
Very good. So Jack Kelly, do you wish to
Well,
make that
I-
motion?
Yes,
Okay.
I made that motion.
Could I have a second on that, please?
Yes?
Thank you, Jackie approved.
Wait,
Any
I think
further
Jackie has a
discussion on
question.
this?
I have a question.
Yes.
I've been giving the stipend that I receive from this board to the elementary schools, particularly Molly Stark, to repair their instruments. So I was wondering, can this money be used to purchase instruments, replace instruments that have been repaired so many times that they can't be repaired anymore?
So, I
So
mean,
he would, the attorney, we asked a question, and he said, did you budget to buy instruments? Had you budgeted to replace them? And the answer was probably no.
even if it's a private donation to a school for a specified purpose?
Oh, if
that's
it's
what-
a
Well,
That's
donation.
different.
Oh, that's
She's
different. We
asking
could
to
take
use the
her
fund
money by,
balance.
I think what she was asking, could we take this fund balance and buy all new instruments for the school?
Oh, then I misunderstood.
No, not all new.
Some new.
But some-
But either way,
But to use
that's
the
not
fund
a
balance
capital-
to do it.
capital
Yeah.
improvement.
Okay, and that's- yeah,
It's
and
not
that's-
something we had budgeted
The
for.
lawyer said no.
But the monies that you have donated are specifically set aside for the purposes that you designated them for, and they will remain
Yeah,
until
that's right.
those funds are expended for those purposes.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good, the motion passes, so thank you. Jerry, what's the specified period of time that a job has to go out for bid? How long do people have to respond?
It depends, you can get whatever you want, but with our windows, we're basically in a.
A sole proprietor,
Specific
sole-
word is, but we're in like
yeah.
a sole
Yeah,
vendor
vendor.
type thing because of doing all the windows with the company that's built all the windows
Mhm.
and installing all the windows, you have to stick with that.
It's proprietary vendor, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, great, thank you. So moving on to our next agenda item, which is educational matters, and we will turn the floor over to our building principals, please.
Oh, sorry. Perfect.
So it is spring, and we are thinking about fall. We actually start thinking about fall when snow's on the ground, and we are well into our kindergarten transition process. So each year, we prepare our pre-K learners to enter kindergarten by developing a sequence of activities called Kindergarten Transition. And the purpose of those activities are to help our children and families entering kindergarten for the first time to get to know the new school environment and build relationships with that school team, as well as to have our kindergarten teams become familiar with our incoming group of kindergartners to be able to ensure that they plan for all their needs and can meet them in the fall. So this process actually started way back in January, but we really kick off the major events in March. And all of this process is to help us develop positive relationships and ensure successful transition for our learners in the fall.
So it's been a pleasure to work with Dr. Abbott this year. So now she has two lenses. One was previously as the director of early ed, and who has actually worked with us as a team many years prior to this. And now she's on the end of receiving all of this information, even implementing in kindergarten. So thank you very much. So how do we build those positive relationships with our new families and our incoming learners? It's really exciting. And in the pamphlet that we just passed out, you can see that there's a variety of activities that the elementary schools decide upon. And then we print and we send to our incoming families for FY20. And you can see they're really, really different. We've done anything from scavenger hunt. We just finished one at Molly Stark. The kindergarten team of teachers did a fabulous job there welcoming their new families in. Monument, we've had a couple activities. We invited them to our most recent family engagement evening, which revolved around the theme of STEAM, of engineering and mathematics. We had Bricks by Ian. We invite them to our spring luncheon, so they actually get to eat with our current kindergartners. They get to see a classroom in the works and happening. We invite them to our barbecues that the Abbey Group actually sponsors for all of our schools. So it's really fun to have them come to that. So they have an opportunity to pick and choose what works for them in their family and what they can attend. We also vary the times, some evening and some day opportunities. So now we'll talk about kindergarten transition meetings, and I'll let Kate do that.
So another piece of the kindergarten transition process is that the systems that have served children until the age of 5 have to kind of merge with the kindergarten system. So we have some different assessment tools, and we've gotten to know children over 2 years for many of them who have attended pre-K. So we schedule what's called a kindergarten transition meeting for any children and family that might want to attend one. And what that does is it brings together the pre-K teacher, the kindergarten teacher, the family, oftentimes the principal for the school, and if there's a child that has an IEP, the IEP team comes together as well. And what we do is we review that child's progress and current status in pre-K in all the 6 domains we assess. We let the kindergarten teacher speak about what kind of expectations the child will experience in kindergarten, and the parent has an opportunity to ask questions, share the gifts, knowledge, and strength of their child, and then we can put in place any special accommodations children may need to be successful in kindergarten, regardless of whether or not they have an IEP. So that is actually in process. We've already had 2 meeting dates at Molly Stark. We have a meeting date this Friday at Bennington Elementary, and Monument coming right up. So, that's exciting. So that's what we're doing right now.
And then finally, what we do is we invite our families to sign up for what we call Kinder Camp. This year, most of our elementary schools are aligning with our summer programming, which is really exciting because that's also another opportunity for children to be fed. The Abbey Group supports our 4 weeks of summer programming, and so we get to bring in our kindergartners for an abbreviated experience about what kindergarten looks like for them. So there's a smaller community, there's not so much hustle and bustle going on. These are new little guys and girls that are coming to join us. So they're welcomed into a kind of a quiet atmosphere, much more quiet than a regular school day. They get at least 8 days each for a half day. We even give them a little bus ride through Dufour, which is really nice. And so it's a nice, really welcoming experience for them. And then they become part of our new community for FY20, and they get invited to our first day celebration. So then they're one and the same with our kindergarten through 5th graders come end of August, pretty sure. Yes.
I'm looking over the schedule here.
Yes.
And I was wondering why at Monument and Molly, we have them going for 8 days, but at Bennell, we have them going for 4 days. Shaftesbury, I think it's 4 days, if I'm reading it right. Or it's not even there. Pownell, it looks like it might be 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
Woodford, 4 days.
Yeah. So
Numbers?
Pardon?
Numbers of students?
I think numbers is also part of it, how many classrooms that you have come in, but also about what I think was nice. Kate had some great, as the early ed director, some great ideas and suggestions about bringing children in during your summer program times, which was wonderful. So some schools did decide to do that. And then I think the other opportunities is when you meet as a team, what works for your community? Because sometimes not always do we need to have four weeks or 2 sessions for your incoming kindergartners. It really does also matter, or it depends upon numbers. And then Shaftesbury, I know, actually does, go ahead. Yeah.
Shaftesbury is its own kind of entity because they're small enough of a building so that they actually do their kinder camp through the months of January, February, and the beginning of March. So those kids actually come in and they integrate right with the current kindergarten class, and they go into the specials while the children are out in specials. So they have a very high participation rate, and they do theirs a little differently, but it's a really rich experience. If we tried to have last year we had, 77 kindergartners at Molly Stark. If we had all 77 come visit during the day, that wouldn't have been good.
No.
So we do ours in the summer at Molly. But this year, for the first time ever, I think we have the most equity across the district with all of the kinder camps that we've ever seen. So we're seeing that consistent kind of 4-day-a-week or for 2-week programming for the most part.
Now, do they go both weeks, or is it they choose the week?
They choose one of 2, so 2 weeks, one session or the other session at Molly Stark.
Okay,
So-
so in those two schools, it's not like those children are getting 8 days of that program. They're still getting 4 days. They just get to choose which week they go.
They're
They're
getting
all
2
8
weeks,
days.
they're getting 8 days.
Correct.
8 days.
So we have 2 sessions to break the total group of like 77 kids, for example, last year. So half would go the first session, half would go the second session. Each session is 2 weeks long. Does that make sense?
Is it in the teachers' contracts for these kindergarten teachers?
No.
They
This
get compensated.
extra
if they
out.
choose to.
Right. And there is a budget line for kinder camp in your BSD budget.
They're not required.
You mentioned a ride on the bus from
Yeah.
Dewport. Is that happening at all 3 schools? Do you know?
I'm not sure if it happens at all the schools. We do try to arrange with Do4. We call Mike Gardner and say, on the last day, can you come over and, he usually gives them a little spin around the block. And so it's a quick ride, but it gives them an opportunity to, really experience the bus. Some of them do take the bus, some of them don't. But in some fashion, they are going to get on the bus for even field trips.
Okay.
Yeah.
In years past, it's been tricky to get kids to Bennell Kinder Camp who live maybe up towards Central Office and Beach Street in the park there,
Yeah.
or down on Route 7 maybe, and the Apple Valley Motel or something. It's too far to walk.
Yeah.
But we didn't bus for those camps, so it was tricky to get those kids to kinder camp who really
Should be
needed to be
busing.
there.
And that's actually a great example of, so this is an opportunity for the families to participate in. They're not required to participate in it. So we're offering 2 sessions. We may not have enough learners to really come to those 2 sessions. So I'll just use maybe Monument as the example. We have session 1 and session 2, but if we don't have enough learners, we may only be holding kinder camp for session 1.
Oh, that's
It really
good for
depends
people to
on our
know.
enrollment.
That's good for people planning vacations and things. That's good for
Yeah.
them to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Transportation, we do recognize as a need for some of our at-risk, children who live in poverty. So we have partnered with Head Start as well, and Head Start is providing transportation to learners who are enrolled in Head Start to the kinder camps this summer, so they have the dates, and they're planning on providing a bus for their learners to come, which is something that we've done, we did last year as well. But they now have additional transportation options. They have 2 buses now, I believe. So they should be able to provide both the transportation to the Molly and the Bennell sites.
I just think it's equity issue. I mean, if at Bennell, we're only doing it for 4 days, we're not giving the parents any choices. And we really need to make sure, because I volunteer in this building, that these kids get to kinder camp. And if we have to provide busing, which we did, we expanded that line item.
And it wasn't exhaustive last year, that line item.
So we should be using it
Can't
to
we
get
use-
kids to kinder camp.
Expanded it, but then we reduced it during budget season.
This time.
I don't recall reducing it a ton, though. That actually is the one we butchered, isn't it? That's when we cut way down.
Without Principal Dunn here, I don't want to ask our other 2 principals to speak to why Bennell selected to do.
We can address it.
Yeah, but I've sent an email to the superintendent asking him to inquire as to the decision process around that.
We can just say it's our recommendation that we provide ample
Yeah.
transportation to all the
I
camps.
think that is
Yeah.
reasonable to say. That, I won't follow it up in another email, Jim, but it's the recommendation of this board that opportunities for transportation be given to
Can
Bennell
I
students
ask
as
what
well.
budget it falls under, which year?
Maybe this year.
This year or next year?
Well, it's for next year's, next year's kinder camp,
It's
right?
next year
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
okay.
Kinder camp is its
You're
own
looking for that
line
fund
item.
balance, aren't you? I can tell. Anything else from our building principals?
And I just want to say, and I'm speaking also on behalf of, certainly of Dr. Abbott, but it's been really wonderful to see our new families coming in and the excitement in the kids' eyes when they're in the schools.
They're so tiny.
It's energizing.
Yeah, I imagine, yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for the work and for sharing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one of them on there too.
Moving on to Superintendent Culkeen for his report.
Just a few things. We did convene the first meeting of the Southwest Vermont Union Elementary Board last night. A couple of you were there. There is another meeting, 2 other meetings scheduled. We were hoping, the budget was approved, and the warning is being drafted by our attorney. Actually, it's done. And we're hoping to hold that June 4th, so that we have as much time as possible, but it looks like that's not going to be possible. Not all the clerks are available to do it that day. We could hold it any day of the week. You know, Tuesday's not a law, but tradition would make it difficult, I think, to hold it another day, so it looks like it probably will be the next Tuesday, June 11th, which really puts some pressure on if, I hope, the unlikely event that the budget fails. So we can only encourage people, I can only encourage people to vote. I can't tell people how to vote, but I hope that the board will certainly support the efforts to get out the vote that day. You know, one discussion at the meeting last night was about the poor voter turnout to elect the initial board, but there weren't, I believe it was one of the representatives from Shaftesbury who stated this quite well, there was only one contested seat. So why are you surprised that people
Didn't come out?
Right.
So I hope that we'll know, hopefully tomorrow, if the 11th is a go. And yeah, so then our job, and I met with Derek Carlson, our public information coordinator, today, and emphasized how important it is for us to, and we talked about some strategies on how we can remind people to go vote that day.
Yeah,
That's
that
all
was
we can
another
do.
problem with this vote. People honestly really didn't
They didn't
know
know
about
about
it.
Yeah. They wouldn't be looking for it. They
Right,
wouldn't.
right.
It's not a normal time to
I
go
mean,
vote.
It's not a normal
I was
time
at
of
a
year.
doctor's office and they're there, you want for that new board? And I'm like, no. I says, you gotta vote next week. And they're like, what? How come I haven't heard about it?
So we will do the best we can. I did send a letter to the state board, as I told you, on the change to the SU, the makeup of the SU board. The other letter that should go out to the state board tomorrow, so it's also going to be on the May agenda, is asking for a delay in adding board members from Arlington and Sandgate, the BVSU board members coming on to our board. One thing that happened when the state board voted delay to give us an extra year for this merger to go forward, they didn't move the date, nobody caught it, of when the board members would merge. So actually, the directive from the Secretary of Education says on May 15th, 2018 or later, that Arlington should select 3 members to be on the SU board and Sandgate should select 1. So that really, the letter that's going on is asking them to change, that the state board would alter their directive and make that May 15th of 19, which will be this fall, so that, and I have had conversations with the Arlington superintendent, and that board is in agreement, so hopefully this will be an easy fix for the state board, though they tried to assure me that there's nothing to worry about because the language says May 15th, 2018 or later. So as long as both sides are in agreement that we're not going to do this to November,
Right.
we should all be good, but I'd like something a little bit more definitive than that.
That's fine.
Because, and that's it, we keep moving along. Like, we did have a legislative breakfast, I think somebody mentioned that on Monday, and we have one more scheduled. Let's see, is it May 20th? Was anybody there? Do you have that in?
I was there. I don't know if
I
I've
know,
put it
I
in my
was,
book yet.
I was there too, and I was just looking at my calendar to
I
see
did.
it, and it's not in there, so I want to say it's May 20th, but.
Well,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, I'll get that
Wait,
next
wait,
date to you.
wait,
but-
I was hoping for him to choose.
May 20th, 8 AM.
Thank you. May 20th at the CDC Assembly Room. It'll be a good wrap-up, and by then, the legislative session should be over, and maybe we can hear. We had good attendance. We had, I think we had 5 of our representatives there, so that was a good turnout.
Yeah.
The banner even came. Wasn't that the banner? No, that was banner.
So I'm assuming the
finally paid off
SVSU
Monday,
board
Monday.
will have their 2 last meetings, and then the one in July, if we have one in July, because
You don't usually meet in July, but.
So then the one in August would be made up of the new,
Yep. Hopefully, the state board will take action, and then we'll ask Mount Anthony to vote, because the
They'll have to
SU
be-
representatives are voted on by the board.
Right.
They're not an appointment of the chair. And so we'd ask MAU to vote a 3rd member on, and then one of the actions the new Union Elementary District will be is to elect their,
3.
sometime between now and June, elect their 3 members.
Okay.
And we are looking into, with our attorney, I sent some of the questions that came up. How do we change the name of the district? Can we look at other governance models? What's the process for that? So I did reach out to our attorney that these are some questions that the board would like to hear, and also what other action items do we need to take before we become operational? That's it.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions for our superintendent? Great, so the chair's report will be brief. The next meeting of well, first of all, we held the floor vote on the 23rd. We needed clarity because there was an issue with the wording for the vote for our budget on town meeting day. We needed to hold a vote to confirm that outcome, and we did that, and it was great, and it was upheld, so no worries there.
You said floor vote, that's going to remind us, we will have to have a floor meeting the night of the 10th prior to the vote on the 11th. That, the typical meeting at the fire station,
Yep.
15 minutes, go over what we're asking for.
Well,
So June 10th.
That new board's
The new board will.
The new board, yes,
Oh,
not
okay.
this. I'm sorry. Yep, no, you,
I'm looking
no.
at Chris
The new
like, oh,
Union
what is
Elementary
that?
School board will hold a floor meeting on, if the vote is the 11th, that'll be on the 10th.
Okay.
Thank you
And
for
that's
that.
going to be all
That's not
that
us.
board. We don't need to be there if we're not
No.
on that board.
No.
Well, as a concerned citizen, you ought to be there.
Of course, always.
Are you going to publish the
Budget.
budget ahead of time?
I went up to our website today.
Excellent. So,
Plus, you might want to go and harass the new chair. Just saying.
so that's me. So the new chair of the new unified district is me. Tony D'Onofrio is vice chair, and Scott McEnany is the clerk. So those offices were elected last night.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, the next meeting of that is May 21st at the SU office at 6 o'clock. One of the things that I asked the representatives from the different towns to do today in an email is one thing I want us to consider as well. Because there is so much that needs to be done by this new transitional, but not the transition board, by the new merged board, that old business, stuff that might be floating around in the different existing school boards right now might get lost. So what I would like each of you to do, please, is give a thought to things that we've started but maybe have not finished.
That's a
that
great
won't
idea. I was
necessarily-
wondering when we were going to bang out a laundry list
Yep.
of what needs to get bumped along.
So what I'm hoping folks can do over the next few weeks is think on it and send me emails. And I asked each of the members of the new Unified Elementary School District to do the same with their boards, to come back with that. I also asked last night for the members of the new Unified Board, if they have ideas for how to promote this vote for June 11th, to send those to me as well, and I will forward those on to the superintendent. Because, maybe it was just because so few people were running, but I also think a lot of people did not know.
We don't want to
this
make
vote
that
was happening.
assumption.
We don't want to make that assumption. So already some ideas have been floated out there. Put your thinking caps on and let me know those ideas too, if anyone here has those.
There's a person that does all that on Facebook, and his name is Christopher Wright.
Okay. Yep. And so,
Give him a shout.
yep. So using social media in different ways is a great idea. I mean, Derek has done a great job with the SVSU Facebook page. And so, one of the ideas was to use social media more actively. But when folks have those ideas, please forward them on to me. And that is it for the chair report. The last agenda item, FYI, we have the student enrollment numbers, we have the budget status report, those are all included. So, Can I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Jack Prue. A second from Merity. Any discussion about adjourning? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?